It's time to close out yet another year of the Dandy Funhouse. While all those other shows are slacking off and giving you retrospectives of everything they've already done in the past year, it is instead our tradition here at the Dandy Funhouse to leave the past exactly there, in the past, and instead look ahead to the brand spanking new year coming at us like Fraley's Comet, and take a glimpse at the coolest stuff we've been able to find that's waiting for us in 2026. We're going to look at theme parks, movies, pinball, and of course, the TOTY Award nomination picks for the incoming 2026 Toy of the Year Awards. Are you ready to get your kicks in 2026? Then let's step into the funhouse.
Where am I?
You just entered the Dandy Funhouse.
Hello and welcome to the Dandy Funhouse 2025 year-end extravaganza, where we wear the hats and blow our hooters about the very best in retro pop culture, toys and games, and all the fun stuff. I'm your host, Neil Dandy, and in this episode, we're going to look ahead at what's hot on the horizon for 2026 in the worlds of theme parks, movies, pinball, and my personal picks for the 2026 TOTY Awards, Toy of the Year. But first, I gotta show you these amazing Dandy Funhouse t-shirts before time runs out. Perfect for swaddling the baby new year. They got a front and a back so you don't get cold, and we even cut 4 holes in them. 1 to crawl your body into, 1 to stick your head out of, and 2 to poke your arms through. Find them in the Dandy Fun Shop at the Dandy Funhouse website at dandyfunhouse.com before the Dandy Ball drops. Alrighty, hold on tighty and let's get righty into what's hot on the horizon for 2026, starting with theme parks. And up first is going to be Universal Studios Hollywood, which isn't actually in Hollywood. It's in Studio City. Kind of like the LA Angels baseball team is actually in Anaheim, and how they call the Embassy Suites here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, Nashville South, which we absolutely ain't. But anyway, that's a rabbit hole rant for another day. Universal Studios in the greater Los Angeles area of California is breaking ground on a new roller coaster where each individual car experiences its very own 360 degrees of rotation. The coaster is called Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift, themed after the Fast and Furious movies, obviously. This one's expected to peel out in 2026. And Legoland, California is busy building the Lego Galaxy space-themed land, including an indoor roller coaster. And over at Kings Island in Ohio, they're opening what they're calling a new dark ride in 2026 called Phantom Theater Opening Nightmare. It's in the location that has most recently held an attraction called Boo Blasters. But it's also apparently the site of a previous attraction, also called Phantom Theater. And this is apparently the return of that attraction with some various upgrades. I went to the Kings Island website to get more info, and there's just a teaser video showing a couple of girls walking into Boo Blasters and ending up in the Phantom Theater, which appears to be a loose send-up on the Phantom of the Opera. The cartoon Phantom character they show in the teaser graphic is obviously based on the classic Lon Chaney silent film character, and visitors ride inside cars that resemble opera boxes. So yeah, Dollywood, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, my neck of the woods kind of sort of. They're going to be undertaking a $50 million expansion and also opening the world's first ever hybrid indoor family coaster and whitewater river raft ride called the Night Flight Expedition. Then under at SeaWorld, Orlando, Florida, they're diving into a new dark ride called SeaQuest, Legends of the Deep. Now, if you don't know what a dark ride is, it means it's indoors and you get moved from scene to scene. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's dark. Anyway, this new ride at SeaWorld will be what they are calling a suspended dark ride. The only information I know about this ride currently is that the rider will discover dazzling ecosystems, legendary sea life, and breathtaking stories of resilience and wonder. And speaking of SeaWorld, they've got a controversial new policy which has been making the news lately, and it's just rolled out, and it's regarding mobility devices for the disabled. Rollator walkers with seats are no longer permitted. The official updated policy from SeaWorld on their website is as follows. For the safety of our guests and employees, rollator walkers with seats on them are not permitted at SeaWorld Orlando. Alternative personal transportation options, including standard wheelchairs and electric convenience vehicles, ECVs, are available. Walkers without a seat are permitted. Now, I'm guessing that more than a few guests were using their rollators like wheelchairs, and it was causing some safety concerns. As someone who transports disabled people as his living, that would be me, and handles mobility devices all day long, I can tell you from personal experience that a wheelchair itself is something you need to exercise caution with while pushing someone around in. A rollator walker would be very, very easy to tip over if someone were attempting to use it as a wheelchair. So while I'm disappointed at the inconvenience this is going to cause some disabled guests, I want to be really, really careful not to demonize SeaWorld too quickly here on this new policy, because guests can still borrow suitable mobility devices from guest services there at the park. All right, time to work our flippers over to the world of pinball. All right, here are the rumored pinball releases expected in 2026 that caught my eye during the research for this episode. Now, keep in mind, these are only rumors. American Pinball is going to be coming out with a Cuphead pinball machine in 2026 based on the wildly popular video game featuring some amazing vintage animation styles. I'll admit I'm not familiar with the character or the video game, but I do love this vintage cartoon style. Spooky Pinball is said to be working on a Motorhead pinball machine. No offense to guitarist Wurzel or drummer Mickey D, who now plays with the Scorpions, and they were crucial to keeping the band alive in its later years and thriving, but I'm real hoping this honors the original lineup of Lemmy, Filthy Phil, and Fast Eddie. Barrels of Fun Pinball appears to be cooking up some Goonies pinball for the new year. Ramps Pinball is going to be coming out with Little Shop of Horrors. Oh, please let the carnivorous plant eat the ball. And last but not least, in our Pinball 2026 rumors, we have Pinball Adventures bringing us Sushi Madness. Neo-Hashi Kudasai. And if you're really a pinball nut, as we know you are, you're going to want to put March 20th through the 22nd on your calendar, because that's when Frisco, Texas braces itself for the annual Texas Pinball Festival. Over 440 games, one incredible weekend. The website says tickets go on sale October 4th, 2026. I gotta imagine that's a typo and they really meant 2025. Otherwise, only those with the ability for reverse time travel will be able to attend. There will be tournaments and challenges, special guests and panels, exhibitors, parts, memorabilia, new games, and there's going to be a special tech day for those trying to upgrade and or fix their own machines. That's the Texas Pinball Festival 2026. Rope you a ticket today, yeehaw! All right, I think we're ready to steer away from pinball and drive this herd into the movies. Now, I'm going to start with letting you know a few of my favorites from 2025 before we get into what's ahead for 2026. Like Jurassic World Rebirth. It was pretty much par for the course for Jurassic Park movies, but it had Scarlett Johansson carrying the whole movie on her shoulders by herself, and she pulled it off amazingly. Now, Mickey 17. Now, this is a movie about a guy who signs on to do dangerous labor grunt work in space for a corporation, and he keeps getting killed by stuff. And every time he gets killed, the company just prints out a new copy of him with all his same memories. Now, the crux is that the new copy never knows if he's actually the person being reborn every time, or if he really dies and the new copy just has his memories and merely thinks he's the same person. Weird stuff. The Fantastic Four. First Steps. Now, after many fantastic flops at trying to make this franchise work on the big screen, they finally got F4 right. The retro future vibe was spot on, and all the actors were perfect. Superman. Now, I was upset about losing Henry Cavill as Superman, but James Gunn came back with a fresh, new, fun feel on this one, starring David Corenswet, even bringing in Soup's dog Crypto. This movie was just a great popcorn-eating time. More, please. The Smashing Machine with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in a dramatic role, co-starring Emily Blunt. It's the story of mixed martial arts and UFC champion Mark Kerr and how he conquered his biggest opponent, addiction. And finally, in my roundup of my favorite movies of 2025, I bring you Begonia. This movie was a crazy trip with some really wild twists and turns and many moments of pure cringe, and I loved it. Starring Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons, who seems to be showing up in just about everything lately. It's a story about a couple of guys who are conspiracy nuts, and they kidnap a lady corporate CEO thinking she's a space alien trying to destroy the Earth. Now, this was easily my biggest delightful surprise of 25. But before we get into 2026, I'd like to give a special nod to Tron Ares, because I always expect anything with Jared Leto in it to suck eggs, and this didn't. And Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues. Rest in peace, Marty DeBurgi. Movies I'm looking forward to in 2026. The Odyssey, coming out in July. Now, after the Trojan War, Odysseus faces a dangerous voyage back to Ithaca, meeting creatures like the Cyclops, Polyphemus, Sirens, and Circe along the way, and it's starring Matt Damon, Mia Goth, and Anne Hathaway. Now, this could be really good, or it could be stupid. I'm betting it's going to be good, and double or nothing that Mia Goth is going to be a siren, or maybe Medusa. I think she'd make a good Medusa. Evil Dead Burn, July. I'm a sucker for the Evil Dead movies, and this one's not likely to have any Bruce Campbell in it, but they're keeping the details under tight wraps for now. So, who knows? Coyote vs. Acme, expected August. Now, this is a story set in the Acme warehouse, the manufacturer of anything and everything used by the Looney Tunes characters. And apparently John Cena is voicing one of the characters. Please, oh please, oh please, let's get this right. Now, if 2025's The Day the Earth Blew Up, starring Daffy Duck and Porky Pig, is any indication, I think we can have high hopes here. That's another one that I left off my favorites list, and I should have had it in there. Inspector Gadget. No details are available, but I think we're long overdue for some go-go gadget action. Dune Part 3, expected in December. It follows Muad'Dib, I don't know if I said that right, heir to unimaginable power, as he brings to fruition the ancient scheme to create a super being ruler among men, not in the heavens. And according to IMDb, it's starring Rebecca Ferguson, Timothy Chalamet, and Anya Taylor-Joy. Did you pick that up there? Zendaya is not listed as a cast member on IMDb. How can this IMDb? You tell me. Pirates of the Caribbean, Untitled. That's all we know. Hopefully they got things squared away with Johnny Depp. That is, if they want to sell tickets to this thing. I Am Legend 2. Military scientist Robert Neville seems to be the sole survivor in virus-ravaged New York. He's waging a fight against dark seekers, mutants resembling vampires, trying to capture him as he searches for a cure. It's starring Will Smith and Michael B. Jordan. All right, I could go for a sequel to I Am Legend, especially when you add Michael B. into the mix. I'd really like a sequel to I, Robot, but this will do for now. Blade. That's right, they're teasing a new Blade movie for 26 with Mia Goth listed in the cast. But of course, the burning question is, do they have Wesley Snipes? Now, Wesley Snipes showed up in a cameo as Blade in the Deadpool versus Wolverine movie last year, but he is not listed in the cast on IMDb as of yet. There's also an untitled Denzel Washington project based on the historical figure of Hannibal, considered one of the greatest military commanders of all time. The film covers crucial battles he led against the Roman Republic during the Second Punic War. You had me at Denzel, not to mention I love historical action movies. Bring it on! The Bride, expected March 6th, 2026. In 1930s Chicago, Dr. Frankenstein asked Dr. Euphronius to help create a companion for his monster. They give life to a murdered woman as the bride, sparking romance, police interest, and radical social change, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Christian Bale. Now, this is the one I'm waiting for. I love Christian Bale, and I love the concept of setting the story of the Bride of Frankenstein in 1930s gangster Chicago. Let's go! Scandalous. That's the name of a movie. It's about the story behind the Hollywood romance of Sammy Davis Jr. and actress Kim Novak. I like anything Rat Pack related, and it's going to be fantastic, baby. Clayface, expected in September. A shape-shifting creature made of magical clay haunts Gotham City, alternating between villain and ally of Batman. Okay, it's a Batman villain and not a real obvious one. It looks interesting. Evel Knievel on tour. This is going to be about legendary motorcycle daredevil Evel Knievel and the drama that surrounded the run-up to his 1974 attempt at jumping the Snake River Canyon in Idaho, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. Okay, first of all, Evel was originally planning to jump the Grand Canyon, but couldn't get permission from the U.S. government, so he turned and made a deal with an Indian tribe to jump the Snake River Canyon because it was located on sovereign tribal land. Anyway, a new movie about Evel Knievel? Heck yeah! The Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping, expected in November. Now, this new installment of The Hunger Games is going to explore Panem, 24 years before Katniss Saga, starting on the morning of the Reaping for the 50th Hunger Games, where a young Haymitch Abernathy participates. Okay, this could be all right. I'm not super excited about it, but I could be swayed since it won't have Jennifer Lawrence in it. Sorry. And that's it for the movies I'm looking forward to in 2026. Now for toys. What I like to do this time of year is see what toys from 2025 have been nominated in various categories for a coveted Toy of the Year award, otherwise known as a TOTY Award, and let you know my personal picks. Not that anyone in the industry has given me a vote. Maybe someday. But today I bring you my personal 2026 TOTY Award nominee picks. Action Figure of the Year. I like Avatar Interactive Shoulder Banshee by Disney Consumer Products. This thing looks pretty cool. It's a small, colorful looking dragon that sits on your shoulder and attaches with a magnetic base that you wear underneath your clothing. A handheld controller allows you to control head and wing movements, as well as its squawky voice. Now, this thing's pretty darn cool. Now, in the collectibles category, there are a couple of different nominees that caught my eye here. One is Sticky Rolls Series 2 by Sky Castle Toys, which is basically charm bracelets marketed to girls with rolls of small stickers on them with different fun graphics. Now, the other nominee I liked is Wigglets by ZB Designs. These are tiny toy figurines of almost every type of fun character you can imagine that have some sort of wiggly aspect to them, or better put, something that moves when you wiggle them. If I had to choose between the two, I'd probably go with Wigglets because it's something you'll get continued enjoyment from, whereas the Sticky Rolls are only fun until you run out of stickers. There you go. Construction playset of the year. I gotta give it to GeckoBot 2.0 by Thames and Cosmos here. This is a kit where you build your own robotic gecko that actually climbs up your windows. Thames and Cosmos just keeps knocking it out of the park here, folks. Creative Toy of the Year. Crayola Marker Airbrush has got my vote. That is, if I had a vote, which I don't. If you've ever dreamed of someday making awful looking t-shirts and hats on the boardwalk, then this could be your starter kit. It's an actual working airbrush sprayer, courtesy of everyone's favorite crayon company, Crayola. It even comes with various spray color cartridges, so you start saying it by spraying it. Doll of the Year. Now, admittedly, I, as a 57-year-old man, should absolutely not be voicing my opinion on Doll of the Year. TOTY Award? But if I had to choose from the list of 2026 nominees, I'd hands down pick Woof and Company by Sunny Days Entertainment. It's a collection of fashionable dogs of various breeds who all dress up fabuloso. Yeah, this is the one I'd go for. Educational Toy of the Year. In this category, I'm liking the Snap Circuits Spy Kit by Alinco Electronics. This has got a bunch of components, and you just snap them together to make all kinds of cool stuff like a vibration sensor, motion detector, tripwire, voice changer, and a whole lot more. Well, the trouble I'd have got into if I had something like this when I was a kid. I made a lot of that stuff myself, though. Game of the Year. I got to tell you, there's not a bad one in the bunch of the nominees this year. For Game of the Year, they've got an Exploding Kittens board game where you actually flip the entire board and all the pieces stay in place. And there's a Simon game. You know, the memory game Simon? Well, they took it and incorporated it into a dance mat. So now you stomp out your moves on the dance mat. And then there's Cows in Space, where magnetic flying saucers dangle from your forehead via a springy head strap, and the object is to abduct cows from a field with your flying saucer. But the game that caught my attention the most was Tetris Tumble XL. It's sort of like Giant Jenga, except there's a base that rocks side to side, and you roll a die to see what Tetris pieces you have to stack on top of it. And of course, whoever makes the stack fall over to the ground is the loser. I like this. It's a great, big, fun yard game that you could also play indoors. Tetris Tumble XL for Game of the Year. That's my choice. Infant Toddler Toy of the Year. Okay, maybe another category I might not be the best judge for, but I'm who you got, pal. And in this category, I choose Pour and Grow Pop-Up Garden by Yo Kidoo. This appears to be mainly a bath time toy kit, but you can play with it really anywhere as long as you got some water on hand. Simply put, you got 3 different toys. The Fill and Water Flower, Peekabee, and the Pop-Up Worm. You pour water into them or onto them, and the water turns some mechanisms internally, externally, whatever, to make the flower open, the worm come out and wiggle, or gets the bee to play peekabee with you. Bzz, bzz, bzz. Very unique and inventive, in my opinion. This is the best of this year's bunch. the Kidult Toy of the Year. Kidult? That means it's made for ages 14 and up. And I'm really torn between two nominees on this one. I like the Miniverse Make It Mini Food Diner Series 4 by MJ Entertainment, which is an art kit for making your own food minis that you control the designs and colors of. Now, have you ever walked through a restaurant that had fake food on display showing the examples of their most popular dishes? Well, that's what you're going to be making with this kit, only really, really tiny. Now, the name's way too long, though. Or if you just want something cool to play with that doesn't really take any time and effort or talent, I offer you the Zip String Arachna, which is a newer version of the Zip String loop toy. But this attaches to your wrist so you can shoot it out like Spider-Man. Although they obviously aren't allowed to invoke the name of Spider-Man, but they're sure bending over backwards suggesting it as extremely as they legally can. The really cool feature of this Kidult Toy of the Year nominee is the glow feature. Flip a switch on the Zip String wrist launcher, turn off all the lights, and do all sorts of awesome tricks and shapes in the dark with a glowing string loop. So, Miniverse Make It Mini Food Diner Series 4 or the Zip String Arachna. The Miniverse Make It Mini Food Diner Series 4 triggers me because it's got an obnoxious name. So on that basis alone, I'm giving the nod to Zip String Arachna. Outdoor Toy of the Year. I think there really ought to be two subcategories here. One for younger kids and one for older. And for the older kids, I was really blown away by the Crazy Cart Shuffle by Razor USA. This thing's like a big wheel or a green machine on steroids. Not only can you pedal around on this thing, but you can spin out and also drift. It's super neat. And speaking of super neat, for the little ones, I love the Outdoor Kitchen by Hape. It's not a real kitchen, of course, but it's a really cool miniature toy version of an outdoor kitchen setup. Come on, TOTY Awards, let's break this one up by age groups. Preschool Toy of the Year. Okay, there were some good ones here, and maybe I'm judging this on my own male bias from a bygone era, but my favorite here was the Little Tykes Creative Construction Power Cut set by MGA Entertainment. It's a woodworking shop playset with an actual working, low-powered plastic chop saw that cuts through foam 2x4s and also comes with a play hammer, nails, measuring tape, and carpenter pencil, which is actually a marker. In the video demonstration I watched, the chop saw did struggle getting through the foam wood. When you're talking about preschoolers, however, that's probably going to be about the best you can hope for. We desperately need more encouragement and inspiring of our youth towards the skilled trades, in my humble opinion. And this is a refreshing step in that direction. Nicely done. Specialty Toy of the Year. I was truly taken by the Yes and No original Invisible Ink trivia game books by Treetown Toys. Now, these are basically activity books where different things are revealed with the use of a special invisible ink pen. Now, this looks fantastic for keeping the youngins busy on a road trip, or maybe in a waiting room, or anywhere you want to keep them distracted and entertained without handing them your phone. That is, until you run out of invisible ink and invisible ink activity books. And, well, those are my picks for the 2026 TOTY Awards. And that's our look ahead at what's hot on the horizon for 2026. What are you looking forward to? Let me know. If you're enjoying this episode on one of the socials, leave a comment. Otherwise, you can email me at neil@dandyfunhouse.com. And even though I said I wasn't going to do a retrospective of the past year, I got to tell you my favorite Dandy Funhouse episode. And, oh, who am I kidding? Every year it's always the same. It's the Halloween episode where the Dandy Funhouse turns into the Dandy Spook Shack, and I get to dress up like a ghoul. But my second favorite might have to be the deep dive into the iconic toy company Wham-O. I learned so much doing that one. You might think I just come on here and already know all this stuff and riff off the top of my head, but on the contrary, I do a great deal of research in the weeks leading up to producing an episode, and I'm always learning amazing new things, which is why I just love doing this show and have no plans to quit. Okay, and speaking of no plans to quit, what are the plans for 2026 here? More of the same. We're getting really close to monetization on YouTube. I mean, technically, we're already supposed to be there, but YouTube gives conflicting information on this and is notorious for constantly moving the goalposts on the creators. So while we love publishing there, we don't put all our dandy eggs in that basket. We also publish to Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and Rumble, as well as our own Dandy Funhouse website at dandyfunhouse.com, where you can watch the videos, listen and subscribe to the podcast, or read the entirety of all the episodes in written form, along with pictures. Who does that? We do. That's who. And we do it mainly by hand. No AI stuff, except full disclosure, AI does help us transcribe the episodes into written form and also does the captions for the short form videos, but it always gets stuff wrong. So I always go back over it personally and make the needed corrections. I just use it to save a little time. But while you're there on our website, checking out all the episodes and buying stuff from the Dandy Fun Shop, make sure to visit the patronage page where you can support future productions with your modest financial gifts. Supporters gain access to exclusive bonus features, and super supporters gain that same access. Plus, I'll mail you something absolutely dandy from right here at the Dandy Funhouse Studios in beautiful Murfreesboro, Tennessee, if you include your mailing address. Podcast listeners can support through a donation link in your listening app of choice if the app offers it. I understand not all do, but we appreciate it when you can. And your 5-star reviews, wherever you can leave them, are always highly, highly appreciated. And that, ladies and gentlemen, sticks a fork in 2025. Please don't forget the reason for the season, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And come on back next year for some amazing new frivolities in 2026. You never know what kind of crazy trouble we're going to get into. Right here at the Dandy Funhouse, where everything is always fun and dandy. Merry Christmas and see you next year.